I'm not afraid from your bed smell. Again, more.
I should point out that the people in Berlin are supported by internationals, people who come from around the world and support the protests. Some come from Israel, Israeli Jews who are in support of human rights. On August 11th, a group of 15 or so of these Israeli Jews staged a novel demonstration. They went to the home in a West Bank settlement of the commander who's in charge of the army in that section and who has been staging the raids. And they engaged in a novel protest.
נועם טיבון, הגענו לכאן הלילה כדי למחות בקול גדול על הפלישות הליליות והמעצרים הליליים בכפר בילעין. טיבון, אתה אחראי על הפלישות הללו ועל המעצרים של תושבי בילעין, של כל חטאם הוא התנגדות עקבית ונחושה לגדר ההפרדה שגוזלת את אדמותיהם. בתקופה האחרונה פולשים חיילי צה"ל אל הכפר בילעין מדי לילה. בחסות החשיכה חיילים רעולי פנים נכנסים אל הכפר, מתפרצים לבתים ושולפים תושבים מהמיטות שלהם. הפלישות הללו מלוות בירי של רימוני הלם וגז מדמיע ברחובות הכפר. דמיינו לעצמכם תושבי הדר יוסף, איך אתם הייתם מרגישים לא היו פולשים כך מדי לילה לשכונה שלכם ומטילים על המשפחות שלכם אימה ופחד. הגענו לכאן כדי לגרום לכם, תושבי השכונה השלווה הזאת, לחוש ולו במעט את מה שחשים מדי לילה תושבי בילעין. מי שעוצם עין נוכח כל הדברים הללו, לא ראוי כי יעצום עין גם במיטה שלו בשעת הלילה.
Before we leave the subject of Israel-Palestine, I want to read from part of a letter written by an Israeli named Dov Yermeah. Yermeah was a commander in the 1948 Israeli War of Independence. He was also in the army in 1982 when Israel invaded Lebanon and wrote a very critical book, My War Diary. I had the honor of meeting Dov Yermeah in the middle 1980s. At the time, he was a Zionist, but no more. He's fed up, he's had it, he's disgusted, as you'll see in this letter. This is what he writes. I, a 95-year-old Sabra, native-born Israeli Jew, who has plowed its fields, planted trees, built a house, and fathered sons, grandsons, and great-grandsons, and also shed his blood in the battle for the founding of the State of Israel, declare herewith that I renounce my belief in Zionism, which has failed, that I shall not be loyal to the Jewish fascist state and its mad visions, that I shall not sing anymore its nationalist anthem, that I shall stand at attention only on the days of mourning for those fallen on both sides of the wars, and that I look with a broken heart at an Israel that is committing suicide, and at the 3 generations of offspring that I have bred and raised in it. For 42 years, Israel turned what should have been Palestine into a giant detention camp and is holding a whole people captive under an oppressive and cruel regime with the sole aim of taking away their country, come what may. The IDF eagerly suppresses their efforts at rebellion with the active assistance of the settlement thugs, by the brutal means of a sophisticated apartheid and a choking blockade, inhuman harassment of the sick and of women in labor, the destruction of their economy and the theft of their best land and water. Over all this there is waving a black flag of the frightening contempt for the life and blood of the Palestinians. Israel will never be forgiven for the terrible toll of blood spilt, and especially the blood of children, in hair-raising quantities. This was a letter written by Israeli Dov Yermeah. I'm speaking to Iranian-American Dr. Saeed Agari, and we're going to talk about Iran. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, Iran has been in the news constantly over the last few years. Mostly it's about charges that it's developing nuclear weapons, a threat to the world, that Ahmadinejad is going to kill Israel off, and so on. But over the last couple months, the talk is much more about what's going on inside of Iran and of the masses of people in the streets. So let's talk about that aspect of things to start with. How do you see what's going on now inside of Iran?
Well, as the whole world knows, Iran since 1979, which is about 30 years, has been under the dictatorship of Islamic Republic, which allegedly was publicized in the whole world that the Iranians elected this government, which is not true. Our revolution was stolen. In 1979, we had a mass revolution of people. Among us were students, teachers, workers, farmers, elderly, and even the youth. Therefore, this was not an operation done by clergy and the Islamic rulers as we see today. People were sick and tired of monarchy and exploitation. And unfortunately, because our area is very well demanded around the world, because we are sitting on the second oil reserve of the world, including, Persian Gulf and Caspian Sea, and being close to Afghanistan, and the third world oil reserve, Iraq, then we are very much, have been paid attention by the whole world.
Now, the monarch you're talking about was the Shah of Iran.
True. That was another form of dictatorship which was supported by United States government. We had an elected government in the 1950s which was overthrown by United States. And unfortunately, we lost our leader, Mossadegh. And from then, Iran went downhill, became a puppet for United States government. And our farming and our natural resources were completely exploited. And our educated people were running around the world, as we know.
I recall back in the 70s, must have been mid-70s, there would be demonstrations against the Shah in the United States, but all the people would wear masks because they were afraid that the Shah's agents would identify them, harm them or their families back in Iran.
True. Savak was the name of the Shah's information center, which they were brutal and they had no mercy on people. And thousands of Iranians were exiled, jailed, killed, tortured, and this was going on for as long as, they had the power. But fortunately, after overthrown, Iran experienced 1 year of beautiful people, ruling people from 1979 to 1980. And since 1980, when the Islamic Republic came to power by a referendum, not by election, and since then we have been going down, unfortunately, as we see, economically, and in any aspect of life that we look at. Even though Iranians have the highest number of youth living in any country ever, and we are the most educated minority in the United States as well.
Let's get back to that period of time. Where were you in that time?
Well, I was born and raised in Iran. My elementary education, my high school education in Tehran, and I completed my medical degree in University of Tabriz, Azerbaijan, which is bordering with Russia. At the time of revolution, I was serving in military. All Iranians, it was mandatory to serve 2 years in military, which I was as an officer.